Hi, this is Everett, Everett's Watercolors. Welcome to my studio. Now today I'm going to do another demonstration painting and going to do a bridge. So bridges are very important structures in the world, and you can find lots of interesting ones. I found an old bridge I'd like to paint today. So let's go to my painting table. Let me get started. Okay, well, this is the bridge I've selected here for the painting today. You can see it's an old brick structure. Uh, but I like the shape of it, and it's always important to get the arc of the bridge, the contrast, and I'll call it the shadow pattern or the reflection in the water there. So that's what I'm going to capture: the bridge, the arch, and the reflection in the water. So that's the most important part today. So what I did a quick little design drawing, which I always do. The design drawing, I did a design. Now the most important section will be the arch, and you can see here there's a dark shadow underneath because that's the part that's interesting. I always like to paint, and then the structure itself, and then the reflections back down in the water. The rest of the stuff is just secondary background material. So I'll put this aside, and I'll transfer that drawing to my painting paper, which is just a quarter sheet of Gemini watercolor paper. It measures 11 inches, 11 and a half inches wide, and 15 inches long. So I'm going to do it in a portrait format because of the design of the drawing and the design of the photograph, and also my sketch. So I'm going to start on my palette over here. I'm going to use in the sky. I'm going to use this ultramarine blue. And down here on the bridge itself, I'm going to use a little bit of a yellow lemon, a little bit of yellow deep, maybe some yellow ochre, burnt sienna, a little touch of red, maybe Lutheran crimson. And then the only background I have is a little tree, so I'm going to put in some hooker's green and green number 2 for the tree. So that's ready to get started. So over here I got my equipment. I got Holbein synthetic brushes. I've got a 3/4 inch flat, a 1/2 inch flat Holbein synthetic brush, and a number 6 round, number 8 round. Okay, these are all synthetic brushes, but they're very good. Holbein, they're on my website on my supply page, if you're interested. Okay, so I'm going to get started today. I'm going to go ahead and start with the sky, and I'm going to use my other favorite brushes, which is my Hake, and this is the large and the medium size Hake brushes, which are made by Silver Brush. These are natural hair, but they do a good job holding a lot of water. So I'm going to start with getting the wet sky. So wet the paper up here above the bridge. Wet the sky a little bit. It helps the paint flow. Makes it easier to put on. Okay. And I'm going to use the medium-sized Hake to put the color on, and I'll mix up the paints first. Use a bit of just use the ultramarine blue for the sky. There's not much sky today, but it'll be a little bit of background, and I'll make about middle value. Mix up the middle value here, and I'll take the Hake brush, load it up, and go in here and put the color across the sky area. And I think what I'll do is I'll lift out some more clouds, just little small clouds. So use my lifting technique. Just use a little tissue paper, and I'm just going to pick up. Just go ahead and blot out some of the sky behind the tree area here, and that's about it. Okay, that's my sky. I'll let that dry, and what I can do now is I'm going to mix up the paint for the bridge. And I'll get my palette clean again. Get that blue out of the way right now. Okay, so I'm using a 3/4 inch flat, and I'm going to mix up the bridge color, and I'm going to use a little bit of yellow lemon. It's going to be like a block end of the bridge because it's going to have a light color. I'm going to make it a little bit different than what's on the photograph because I want to use the colors that I like. So a little bit of medium deep in there, a little bit of yellow deep, and so I'm going to start over here on the side and come on down. And I'm going to pick up maybe a little bit of burnt sienna too, because I'm going to mix. I want it to be a mix. I don't want it to be a whole solid color, but I do want a nice light, bright color. This is going to be the impact area of the painting, is this bridge. So I'll make the impact area really nice and bright. Pick up a little bit of yellow deep and a little bit of yellow ochre. Kind of mix it up a little bit here. And a little bit of burnt sienna. So this is old brickwork on this bridge. And I'm going to go ahead and even this building over here is going to have some of that same color in it. So I'm going to use a little bit of right across the top here. I'm using the strokes here to get the sharp edge of this top of the bridge. It's kind of a hard edge up there because it's the shape of the top of the bridge. Come down here on the side, cover up. Yeah, I did mention in the beginning I taped my paper down on the edges. This time, just I don't always do that, but today I did, and so that'll keep the paper from moving. And I'll go ahead and paint the color in over here on this building. Also, use the same palette, which is just this mixture of yellows, yellow lemon, yellow deep, and a little bit of yellow ochre. And a touch of burnt sienna here and there. Gives me a nice light tan color, stone color. Old bricks. Come right on down. And there'll be a little bit of that color back here. On this part of the painting, there's a brick wall back here. It continues in the background, so I'll go ahead and put that in, just to get a base coat down. Okay, well, that's the base coat for the bridge. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and dry this. So I'll use my Ranger dryer, which is really a craft dryer, but it really works well. Nice and quiet. Allows me to continue talking while I'm drying the material. So what I've done so far, I've put the sky in with ultramarine blue. Then I'm going and mixed up this colors of yellows and light brown color for the bricks. This is kind of blocking in this particular section. I check the back of my hand. If it feels warm, then it's dry. Okay, doesn't take too long. Now I think the next step I'll do, I'm going to put in a background. Well, there's a background here. Gonna mix up a little bit of green, a little bit of light green. And this is going to be kind of the background and behind the bridge. I just want to get that in, just to establish that. Just to establish that background. I don't want it too bright. But it will be the background colors there, light green, kind of grass, and it'll be part of the tree also. Kind of block that in. And I'll pick up a little bit of yellow ochre here. just to give it a variety back there in the background. Even a little bit of burnt sienna. Just so it's not all the same color, I wanted a variety. It's the variety of background. It's going to be light. Now this color will also be reflected in the water here, so I'm going to bring some of that down into the water area ahead of time. Just bring some of that color down there, okay, and let that dry on its own, because I'll be working on this tree up here now. So the tree behind, I'm going to mix up a little slightly darker green mixture. That's green number 1. I'm going to put in green number 2, a little bit of hooker's green. But I don't want this to be too I'm going to mix a little bit of yellow green, a little bit of ultramarine blue in with that. So I want this to be, I want to be a real pale background. I don't want too much interest here in this tree. So I'm going to keep a very light mixture. Put a little more blue into that. Okay, now what I'm going to use now, I'm going to use my bristle brush. This is a 1/2" bristle brush, and it's a really cheap brush. You can buy this at a hardware store, but it gives a nice texture, especially for trees. And what I'm going to do here is just take this and put in, I'm just dabbing, little dabbing strokes here to give me the texture I want. These are the leaves on this background tree. I'm going to pick up a little bit of lavender now, because I want to make that very, I don't want this to be a bright color. I want it to be a dull background. I don't want to take over any of the interest here of the bridge. I'll load that brush up a little more. So this gives me nice texture here for the edges of the tree. And it'll show a little bit of the sky in between the branches and so forth, which makes it more interesting. But this is just a background object here for the interest on the landscape. Using the same idea of the photograph of putting a tree in here. Making sure that edge is irregular. Make it a little more solid down here toward the bridge, edge of the bridge, and the edge of that building. There, that's good enough. And then behind, I'm also going to have a little bit of the tree showing here, down below, because this tree, I got the trunk here. So this will be the bottom section of the tree, the bottom limbs and so forth. Okay, again, we'll let that dry by itself. Okay, let that dry now. The next thing I want to do is I want to start putting in some of the water. I'm going to get all blocking all my colors and everything. So down here, I'm going to use some of the same mixture. I don't need the greens anymore. So I'm going to take a little bit of green. I'll have a little bit of green in some of the reflection, but not much, because that's not really an important part of this painting. So I'm going to have a little bit of the yellow, which is on the tree, on the bridge. Have a little bit of yellow into the mix here. Not much, just a little bit, just a hint. I'm going to have a little bit of burnt sienna. That'll be reflecting off the bridge. And you know what I may do? I may leave that alone until I get to the point. So let me get some another part of the tree done. What I'm going to do now is take the 1/2 inch brush, and I'm going to use the same technique here, color combination. I'm going to add a little bit of ultramarine blue to that burnt sienna. Get a dark shadow, maybe a little Listerine crimson in there also. You know, the interesting part of this bridge is the shadow underneath the bridge. So I'm going to use the 1/2 inch brush to get that shadow underneath the bridge. This is the shadow portion. Where the light doesn't hit this part. The light is not coming through here. And what I want to do is take the round brush and bring some of that down. I want to blend that in a little bit more. Because there's not a solid black. It's a little bit lighter here on the edge. The light does get through a little bit there, so we'll just cover that up right there with just a first coat. Okay, now we'll continue on with the rest of the art. This is the shadow part of the arch. So I found this photograph that I like because it's got the shape that I was looking for, a nice arch shape. Finishing off over here. Now this side over here, the light is going to be dark all the way down because the light's coming from this direction. So this side is going to be completely black over here, dark. Okay. All right. Now another thing. When I put this on, I put it next to that tree, which was still a little bit damp. So what I did, pick up that edge just a little bit, pick up that black paint there. Yeah, that's good enough. Okay, we'll let that dry. So I think I'll use a blow dryer. Let's go dry this off. So, okay, what I did here was put in the dark under shadow of the bridge, which is the most interesting part of the bridge, I think. And I mixed ultramarine blue and burnt sienna, a little bit of lucerne crimson to get a nice dark warm shadow underneath. I'll check to make sure that's dry. That's okay. All right, that's dry. Okay. All right. Okay. So we got the arch, and this side over is a little bit lighter, and this side is really dark over here. Okay, we might touch it up a little more. Let's put a base coat on there. Okay, I think the next thing I can do is start putting in some of the bridge aspects. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pick up a little bit of alizarin crimson and burnt sienna. I want a nice dark color here, even a little bit of pyro red. And this, I'm really going to do something different from what the photograph is, because I'm going to paint the brick edges, and I'll use a much brighter color. And I'm using a 1/2 inch brush. Half-inch brush to make those bricks. Okay, so these bricks come this way. I'm using a 1/2 inch brush with a vertical stroke around the edge. And this is an old bridge, so I'm going to also, don't want to be perfectly straight on something. I want someone to be a little bit crooked. Some of the edges a little bit shattered, a little crooked, a little bit, gives a little character. But this gives a feeling of the type of bridge. This is a brick bridge made out of bricks, brick and mortar. This is how they used to make the old bridges in some of the older parts of the world, the old countries. You see a lot of these in different places like Italy and France and places like that. They have large structured bridges made out of brick, and they're still standing. So they were made to stand for a long time. Still in use today. Let's see over here. I'm going to turn my hand this way. Okay. All right, that part there is okay. Now what I'll do now, I'm going to take the round brush, number 8 round brush. Now I'm going to take this burnt sienna. And I'm going to make a few brick marks in here, just to have some shapes. Maybe a couple over here. It kind of gives the idea. Let that dry. Up here at the top, I'm going to use a little darker mix. I'll use burnt sienna. Make it a dark gray. Burnt sienna, ultramarine blue. Make a dark gray. And I'm going to use the same brush. And I'm just going to use this layer up here. I'm going to use a stroke, a little dark. I'll lighten that up a little bit. There's brickwork across here. This kind of bricks. There are three different kinds of bricks here. That not different kinds, but different ways they were structured. This is a flat structure up here. The other is more curved because of the shape of the arch. Okay. I put a few more over here. There's a line across here, kind of where it separates these two kinds of structures, right across the top here. I'll just draw that in as a separation of the upper and the lower part of the bridge structure. What I'm doing with the tissue is I'm tapping it a little bit to make the paint a little bit less intense. A little more less defined over here on the edge. And I'm going to also have some bricks here on this building, so I'm going to put some of those in. This building's at an angle, so I'm going to do it perspective-wise. Get a few bricks in here. Yeah. Okay. Now what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take the bristle brush and take a little bit of this burnt sienna, a little gray mixture here, mixture of burnt sienna and ultramarine blue. Load up the brush, and I'm going to go in here now. I'm going to drag it over here and put in some rough marks. To finish that off a little bit. I'm using a tissue to blot up some of the paint just to give it an old feeling. The bricks have been there for a while and worn out. We'll do the same thing over here on the building. Just a few strokes here and give it a little bit of character over here, just showing some bricks, but then kind of filling a little bit of the blank spots with some marks. And there'll be a little, this is also a little brick structure back here. Okay. All right. Okay, that's pretty well does the bridge. Okay. Now I think before I go to the reflections, though, I want to go ahead and put in the tree. See, so I'm going to take a little bit of burnt sienna with the ultramarine blue, give me a darker brown. I'm going to put in the tree trunk here. This tree trunk here is up here. Put a few branches out here. And a few branches up here. That's why we leave the marks, openings here in the leaves, so we can add in branches, make them look more believable. Enough of that. Okay, then let's see. The thing I want to do is get in this part over here. I'm going to use a little bit of this burnt sienna mixed with the ultramarine. Just get a nice grayish brown. A little more blue in that. A little more blue. And this is kind of a walkway here next to this building. Get that in. This has got a little bit of structure here coming down. Okay. All right, I'm ready to put in some of that background now. All right, I'm going to be ready now. It's painting the reflection. So I'm going to start over here. The reflection from this structure here, which is holding the tree, a little bit of the yellow and oranges and so forth there, reflection from the bridge. Now the actual reflection down here from the sky and so forth, I'm going to put a little bit of ultramarine blue first of all, a light coat, a light value. Then I'm going to start putting that in. And this is some little ripples and so forth that are in the water. There's movement down here. So the ripples are small here at this point. And as we get close, as we get further away, it'll get a little bit darker, and the ripples get a little bit larger. All right, and I pretty well got the base coat in. At least I got the main elements in that I wanted to have. Now I'm going to go back in and do just a little bit of. Let me dry this first. So that my final touches now are kind of pull it together and also add some more dimension to the base coat. The base coat now is done. The bridge is basically done. The rest is just adding a little more definition to some of the areas. And dry this off. This reflection in the water now is part of the bridge structure and part of the sky. But the main element in this painting is going to be the bridge. Everything else is just secondary, supporting elements. The main element is here. The supporting elements are around the bridge. Okay, so let's go in now. We'll tweak up some of a little more of the details. This part over here, I'm going to put this brown. I'm going to take a little more of the burnt sienna here. Because this is in light now, it'll start picking up some of that bridge color, which is in light. So we'll show that here. Okay. And then on this side over here, we have a reflection in the water, and I want that to be dark. So I mix that burnt sienna and ultramarine deep to make that. This is a dark shadow here coming in. This is a reflection now from the bridge into the water. And I'm going to make this a little bit darker over here. And I'm gonna cast a shadow on this area back in here. This, use a little bit more burnt sienna. This is gonna be a cast shadow here from the tree onto this little structure here, like a wall, a retaining wall for the tree. And I'm going to bring down a little darker shadow from this structure. A little more shadow over here next to the retaining wall. Over here. A little bit of light showing on this. Yeah. Okay. And there's a little. I used a small brush here. There's a little border over here along the. This is water back, but this is water, but there's also trees and so forth back here, bushes. There's like a little edge here along on the water right here. I'll put that in. I think what I'll do is take a little bit of greenery here and just kind of move that in. There's some kind of grass and bushes and so forth back here. Just put a little structure, a little definition of something back there. Nothing important, nothing really important. And bring some of that down, a little reflection in the water. Try and carry that over to here. Okay. All right. Okay. That's pretty well what I can do right now. I mean, you can spend a little more time adding more details and so forth. But I think there is one thing I want to do. I want to add a little definition to this building over here. I'm going to take Payne's Gray. I'm going to darken in this window up here. There's a window that shows the inside of the window. It's dark. It's shadow. It's in shadow. And I'll put a little ledge on this, and a combination up at the top. That's the window there. And then there's a shadow underneath the eave up here. Eave on the top of this building. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that it completes my bridge. I'm gonna let's put a mat board around it. Let's get this up here put a mat around it, and let's see what it looks like. Oh, I could have taken the tape off too. I think I'll do that. There's the mat board around it. It's okay. But what I do is I take the tape off, and what I did on this one is I made my own border on the paper. So by putting the tape on it, it makes an automatic border for the painting, which sometimes makes it really nice. I do this a lot on my final paintings because it makes them look a lot better. But there's a natural border out of white paper on the right on the paper. So there's the top of that. You can see the bridge, and right down to the bottom. Okay. Now what I could do as a final touch, I can get a little mixture here, use my 3/4 inch brush here, and I can put a little darker indication here. This is really a lot of shadow here coming across. I was going to put a tree over here, casting a shadow, and I can still do that. So this would give a little dimension to the structures here, the walkway over here, with a shadow pattern up on top. A little bit of shadow going across the water, and then this comes across the ground. And then I can show a little edge up here of the actual tree, from the shadow from the tree over cast on this bridge on the edge. So, and what I was going to do also is take a little bit of this light brown and kind of cover this up a little bit more over here. Take away all the distraction from the main character, which is the bridge. So I'm just putting a little coat over top of this, kind of put this in shadow a little bit, make it less important. So now all we have now is the bridge. Most important part of the painting. Okay, let's go back to my main camera. Okay, well that was an interesting painting today. I think you got the idea there that I was painting just the bridge, and everything else was kind of secondary to it. And so I try to eliminate the attention to the sides and the top and the bottom, and just concentrate on the bridge structure, which is an arch and the shadow under the arch, and also reflection in the water. So I think I was successful, and I hope you enjoyed that. You can also follow me on my YouTube channel and on Facebook if you subscribe to my channel. Give me a thumbs up and a like if you like this video, and it helps my rating, so I really appreciate that. And any comments you have, put in the comments section. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So until next video, which will be next week, I'll see you on the next live. No, won't be live. Next video that I make, and I do after the video today, I'm going to do another drawing exercise with Simply Drawing with Everett, and then on the weekend Sunday I do Anyone Can Draw with One Line Only. You might want to catch that. So if you subscribe to this channel, then you'll be notified of the next video. So until next week, I'll see you on the next video. Bye.